Have you ever looked at someone in their 70s or 80s and thought, wow, they still have that spark in their eye? That little glow? That quiet confidence? That sense of being alive, not just existing? And then maybe you've seen someone else, around the same age, who seems like they've slowly started to disappear. Not in body, but in spirit. Their smile doesn't reach their eyes anymore. They seem tired all the time. Disconnected. They talk less, move less, and over time, they feel less. It's easy to blame age, right? It's just old age. It's normal. It's part of getting older. But what if I told you, it's not always just age? What if one of the most ignored parts of growing older, one of the most natural, healthy things your body still craves, is also one of the first things to disappear? And what if that silence, that shame, is actually hurting you more than you realize? I'm talking about self-pleasure. Masturbation. Yep, I said it. And no, this isn't about being vulgar or inappropriate or making anyone uncomfortable. This is about your health, your emotional health, your physical health, your sense of self. See, most people stop talking about intimacy the moment wrinkles appear or hair turns gray. But here's the truth. Your need for connection, for pleasure, for bodily awareness, it doesn't die off with age. In fact, it becomes more important than ever. Still with me? Good. Because today we're diving deep into a conversation you won't hear in most places, not in clinics, not in churches, not even at the dinner table. But here on Elderly Words, we talk about what matters, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's taboo. Today, I'll walk you through 5 shocking consequences of not masturbating in old age. Yes, 5 real doctor-backed reasons why ignoring this part of your life can lead to problems that affect your brain, your body, your organs, even your emotional well-being. By the time we finish, you'll understand how this one private personal act can make the difference between fading quietly or aging with vibrancy, confidence, and peace. So let me ask you, are you ready to break the silence? If you are, comment below. Type, I'm here for the truth, because the truth is exactly what you're going to get. And hey, if this is the kind of honest, heart-centered talk you've been needing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Here at Elderly Words, we speak with love, with courage, and with compassion about everything that matters in the later chapters of life. Now let's talk about what really happens when we ignore this private, powerful part of ourselves in old age. We're starting with the body, but trust me, this conversation touches every part of your life. 1. Increased risk of prostate and genital issues. Let me tell you about Mr. Harold, a proud man in his younger years, veteran, played tennis every Saturday, married for over 40 years. But after his wife passed and the kids moved far away, his world became quieter, lonelier. He didn't think much about intimacy anymore. It just seemed like one of those things you outgrow. But by the time Harold was in his late 70s, he started having strange discomfort, a tightness, a dull ache, doctor after doctor, test after test, and the final verdict, chronic prostate inflammation. Here's what they didn't teach Harold. For men, regular ejaculation helps keep the prostate clean and healthy. It flushes out old fluids and reduces the risk of inflammation, even lowers the chance of developing prostate cancer. And for women, self-stimulation keeps the vaginal walls elastic, maintains healthy blood flow, and helps prevent dryness and painful thinning. In other words, it's not just about pleasure, it's preventative care. But most people assume dryness or genital discomfort is just normal aging. It's not. It's often a result of disuse. Think of it like any other part of the body, use it or lose it. This isn't about shame or indulgence. This is about hygiene, health, longevity. Doctors today are starting to shift their language. They're not just saying, exercise more or eat better. They're starting to say, let's talk about your intimacy, even your private habits. Because when Harold began to care again, not just physically but emotionally, his symptoms started to improve. His confidence returned. and so did a little light in his eyes. Now, if that's what it can do for your body, just imagine what it might be doing for your brain. 2. Decline in cognitive function mood. Helen was the kind of woman who lit up a room. Even in her 70s, she was sharp, quick-witted, and always had a story. But something changed. She started forgetting things, stopped laughing at her own jokes, started describing herself as empty, like something inside was missing. When she finally saw a compassionate doctor, one who actually asked deeper questions, they discovered that Helen hadn't touched another human being in over a year, and she hadn't touched herself in even longer. Here's what science tells us. Orgasms release oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins, those beautiful brain chemicals that keep you mentally sharp, emotionally balanced, and spiritually grounded. They reduce stress, sharpen memory, lift mood, and even help you sleep. But when that release is missing, when the body and mind are no longer connected through pleasure or touch, depression can sneak in quietly, so can anxiety, brain fog, even memory loss. Too many families think emotional flatness is just part of aging, but it's not. It's often a lack of connection, physical and emotional. Even gentle touch, slow, intentional self-care, it can bring you back. It's not about sex, it's about aliveness. And if the brain benefits aren't reason enough, let's talk about something that affects nearly every senior: bladder control. 3. Weakening pelvic floor urinary problems. Now meet Tom. Tom was the guy who always made people laugh, until the day he laughed a little too hard and something leaked. He brushed it off, said it was age. But deep down, he was embarrassed, ashamed, and it only got worse. You see, the muscles used during self-stimulation are the same ones that support your pelvic floor. For both men and women, this muscular engagement helps maintain tone in the lower abdomen, supports the bladder, and even keeps sexual function alive. But when those muscles are ignored, when they go unused, they weaken. Just like legs that haven't walked, just like lungs that haven't been challenged. And this leads to something so many elderly people experience: leaks, sudden urges, incontinence. But instead of exercising those pelvic muscles in a gentle, natural way, through respectful intimacy, we throw pills at the problem. Diapers, denial. What your body really wants is reconnection, a few minutes, a few times a week. No shame, just self-respect. And speaking of respect, let's talk about your immune system, because believe it or not, this part of your life affects that too. 4. Lowered immunity, increased inflammation. Margaret was tired of being tired. She caught every little cold that came through her retirement community. Every bug lasted longer, every fever hit harder. Her doctors chalked it up to aging immune systems. But one kind, curious physician asked a bold question. When was the last time you felt connected to your own body? See, stress, especially the kind that comes from emotional isolation, raises cortisol. That's the hormone that wrecks your immune system. But self-stimulation, it lowers cortisol, releases oxytocin, calms the body, brings you back to your center. It's like pressing a reset button on your nervous system. And here's the kicker. You don't even need to reach orgasm. Just gentle, loving touch with intention. A bath where you honor your body, a moment where you breathe deeply, a night where you choose to care for yourself instead of numbing out. That's immunity in motion. But maybe the biggest cost of all, the one no doctor can easily measure, is the emotional and spiritual toll. 5. Emotional isolation, loss of identity. Lillian used to say she was a wildflower, bright, expressive, a bit rebellious. But somewhere along the way, after her partner passed, she stopped dressing up, stopped dancing, stopped touching her skin as if it mattered. When asked why, she shrugged, said it didn't feel right anymore, said people her age weren't supposed to care about that stuff. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your sexuality, your sensuality, is not something that disappears with age. It evolves, matures, deepens. When it's ignored, a part of you withers, not just physically, but emotionally. You lose connection to joy, to vitality, even to your identity. We've told our elders they shouldn't think about these things, but we're wrong. Suppressing that part of you leads to loneliness, numbness, disconnection. But when Lillian began exploring gentle touch again, whether that meant a warm oil massage or just time spent honoring her body, she didn't just feel sexual again, she felt like herself. And that's powerful. Now that we've walked through these 5 surprising consequences, from prostate health to brain clarity, bladder strength to immunity, emotional connection to self-worth, we need to ask ourselves something important. What does this really mean for you, or someone you love? It hits you, doesn't it? Somewhere in the gut. This realization that maybe, just maybe, someone you love deeply has been carrying this silent burden, not because they've done anything wrong, but because no one ever gave them permission to speak about it. It can feel painful, awkward, even heartbreaking, to think that your father, your mother, your grandparent, your partner, or even you, could be suffering, slowly, invisibly, from something as natural as the absence of touch. And yet that's what's happening to millions of older adults, behind closed doors, behind proud faces, behind a lifetime of being told to just move on or don't talk about that. But let me say this loud and clear. This is not about shame. This is about empowerment. This is about reclaiming what aging really means. Not a slow fading away, but a conscious return to the self. You see, when we open our minds to this conversation, we don't just protect our bodies, we protect our dignity, our emotional resilience, our connection to who we are at every stage of life. So I want you to pause right now, and I want you to reflect gently but honestly. What is your relationship with touch, with connection, with your body, not as it once was, but as it is now? Have you made peace with it? Or have you tucked it away out of fear, guilt, or silence? And more importantly, is there someone you love, someone older, maybe even someone who seems fine, who might be aching in the dark? You don't need to barge into a conversation. Just open the door. A kind question, a shared story. Even sending this video can be a powerful act of love. Because aging doesn't have to mean decline. It doesn't have to mean disconnection. It doesn't have to mean giving up on the joy of being human. It can mean rediscovering yourself, reclaiming intimacy on your terms, living fully in whatever way feels right for you, with awareness, with tenderness, with courage, thriving in ways we never imagined. So let's take a breath together and just gently revisit what we've uncovered today. 5 consequences. 5 deeply human, often hidden realities. 1. The increased risk of prostate and genital issues that could have been reduced by something as simple as regular, respectful self-touch. 2. The decline in cognitive sharpness and emotional balance, because without oxytocin, dopamine, and natural endorphins, our minds begin to dim. 3. The weakening of the pelvic floor, leading to bladder leaks and discomfort that steal away confidence and comfort. 4. A compromised immune system, slowly drained by stress, isolation, and the quiet disappearance of pleasure. And 5. Emotional disconnection, that aching silence where there used to be identity, sensuality, and joy. These aren't just medical issues, they're soul issues. And by understanding them, you're doing something powerful, not just for yourself, but for someone you love. Let me ask you something from the heart. Have you ever noticed signs like these in someone close to you? Emotional withdrawal, mysterious health changes, that quiet sadness you couldn't explain. Maybe now you're starting to connect the dots. Let's talk about it. Really talk. Drop a comment below, even if it's just one sentence. Your story might help someone else feel less alone, or better yet, more understood. And if this conversation opened your eyes, even just a little, if it gave you a new way to think about aging, health, and dignity, then I invite you, gently but wholeheartedly, to subscribe to Elderly Words. This channel isn't afraid of the hard topics, because we believe real care begins with real truth. No shame, no stigma. Just courageous conversations held with respect and love. You belong here. And so do the people you care about. So hit that subscribe button, join the community, and let's keep learning, sharing, and growing together. Thank you for spending this time with me, for showing up with open ears and maybe even an open heart. You're doing more than you know, just by listening and reflecting. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and above all, stay human. I'll see you in the next one.